Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
So Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox hopping in this Toronto versus Seattle, Jays versus Mariners subject. It's Wednesday. All of our guests today, including Jeff Paterson, standing by at Rogers Arena. Brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group, located in Port Alberni. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships. The largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won for a fourth straight year a customer satisfaction index score above the national average. We should be so lucky here. Make your appointment for the 2023 boating season at albernipowermarine.com. This is unsigned, Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Just before we get to Jeff, Millennials and Gen C will cheer for the Jays because for a lot of us, our first sports memory is the Jays winning in 92 and 93.
That's right.
That's your first sports memory? Wouldn't 94 come after that? And the Canucks going to the Stanley Cup final?
Oh, I think
I hate to disagree
baseball.
with one of our great customers,
Yeah.
but yeah, Lions win the Grey Cup in 94. I got into it with the Jays in 92 and 93, but compared to the Canucks going to the Stanley Cup in 94, not even close. But the argument is supposed to be Jays versus Mariners. Let's bring in Jeff Paterson now from Sekeres and Price and the Rink Wide podcast. He's been down at Rogers Arena as the Canucks head up to Whistler for their 2022 training camp. Jeff, how are you?
I'm good, Donnie. And I think back to that first Blue Jays victory in 1992. They won the World Series on my mother's 50th birthday, and my dad had catered this big event in our house. Like it was supposed to be all about my mom, except every guy in the house was crowded around a television watching the Blue Jays win the World Series. So yeah.
The whole country.
That's my memory from my mom's 50th.
And Jeff, the whole country was behind him in those two World Series, and justifiably so.
Let's talk some hockey.
And the whole country will get behind the Mariners when they finally rise up and win their first World Series.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see Newfoundland getting really behind the Mariners.
Jeff, you're at Rogers Arena, as we can see. At least we're familiar with the surroundings there. The Canucks made themselves available to the media today. Did anything stick out?
You can identify Rogers Arena by this light above my head, Donnie?
I recognize the ceiling. It's you can't mistake it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One was Bruce Boudreau meeting the media, and for anybody that spent the summer trying to come up with line combinations that we might see starting on day one of training camp, Bruce threw a little bit of a curveball talking about guys like Connor Garland starting on left wing because he really liked what he saw from Garland over the final 15 or 20 games of the season. Kuzmenko sounds like he may be on the left side as well. There was a lot of talk that as a left shot guy, maybe he'd play the right side, but so Bruce throwing us a little bit of a curveball there. Both of the two new Russian additions have been skating for a while out at 8 rinks. JT Miller raving about Ilya Mikheyev's speed. We've heard an awful lot about that. Miller copped to the fact that even in these informal summer skates, Mikheyev has burned by him a couple of times. So he said that's pretty humbling, but he's excited about what Mikheyev is going to be able to do with that speed and just the element that it'll bring at even strength, but also on the penalty kill. Thatcher Demko, I thought, was an open book, talked about the fact that, remember, he was one of the guys that finished the year injured, and he talked about the injury carrying on a little later into the summer than perhaps he had hoped that it would, but he said he's 100%, he's ready to go, he's been here in Vancouver for a while now training, but he said actually maybe a bit of a blessing, and remember, he got married this summer as well. He said the injury sort of forced him just to relax a little bit and take a little bit longer before he got back into the gym and start working out for this season. But I thought it was interesting. Thatcher's not a guy that says an awful lot. He lets his actions speak for themselves, and they have spoke in loud tones here over the last couple of years as he's developed. But he said, last year was all about being a starting goaltender. Now I want to be elite. And I think, he found his way onto the Vezina ballot. I think he got a Vezina vote from one of the general managers around the National Hockey League. That's the company that he wants to see himself in, and that's the company that he wants to keep. So, that's the mindset of Thatcher Demko, always trying to improve, wants to get better, wouldn't put a number on the optimal workload. And we do know that that was a big issue that ultimately led to him finishing the season on the injured list last year.
Hey, Jeff, Klomovich, Nielsen, Carlson, you were up in Penticton for the Young Stars tournament. Canucks 2 wins, 1 loss. What stood out there?
Don, I think first and foremost, just the fact that it was back. Young Stars is a terrific event. The sun was shining, Penticton in shoulder season, the golf courses, the vineyards, and there was some hockey played as well. But I think it's a win for the Vancouver Canucks, just having that tournament back after a couple of years of the COVID. Obviously, COVID was part of it, but even before that, they didn't have enough in the pipeline. They didn't think, and Calgary and Edmonton didn't come to that last one, and so it was sort of fading away a little bit. But I thought Young Stars came back with a bang. It's just a great way to launch into the season, to see familiar faces, management, scouts, media, all the players and the coaches, and just everybody getting together. It's embraced in the Okanagan. And I think with those players that you mentioned for the Vancouver Canucks, like Archie Bains scoring the tournament opener, his parents in attendance, that was a great story. I didn't think he kept his game at the same level that he was at on Friday over the course of the weekend, but this is a learning curve for him. It's jumping up a level, but still, there was enough there to like. Klomovich, I thought, had a really solid game on Sunday afternoon against the Winnipeg Jets, had a goal and an assist, and you can see moments and flashes from him. And that was one of the guys, I think, going into the weekend that you wanted to see something from, and you did. Linus Karlsson ended up with 3 goals and a couple of assists, so it was a good showcase for him. Nils Åman had his moments, and then a couple of guys that spent time down in Abbotsford last year that are on AHL contracts, but they want to bang the drum and they want an opportunity. Tristan Nielsen, the former Vancouver Giant, and Chase Waters. I thought the two of them, particularly Nielsen, the motor was running all weekend long, saw some offense. He was physical, skates well, and gets the invite to main camp here. So I'm not making any great proclamations about a guy like Tristan Nielsen, but somewhere down the line, it won't shock me if he gets to dip his toe in NHL waters.
Yeah, I hope they put him in a more offensive role. Jeff, last year he was fourth line healthy scratch. It's tough to do stuff on that fourth line. I think he's got more promise offensively if they put him in a better spot. Hey, I still don't think the Canucks are a heavy-set team, Jeff. I know you had a tweet yesterday about penalty minutes. I think Tyler Myers led this team with 66. You know what? Since Dorsett left, Ferland was supposed to be the guy. They do got Dakota Joshua. Do they have enough grit and size? Because there are going to be some heavy-set teams in the West, Jeff.
Well, the tweet you referred to, and Donnie, this will strike a chord with you, because, and Rick, we're all old enough. Somebody tweeted at me and pointed out that the leading penalty minute guy attending training camp, and the Canucks have 67 guys on their training camp roster, the leading PIM guy from last season at any level was 72 penalty minutes. So times have changed. The game has changed just a little bit. I remember back in Brian Burke's days, he was out scouring the bushes, bringing in guys just to fight at training camp to sort of scare some of the other players, I think. That ship has sailed. So John Stevens, by the way, trivia question, had 72 penalty minutes down in Abbotsford. He was the guy. I guess. I mean, the game is all about speed and skill now, but it's always going to be a contact sport. And so I think that there is an opportunity for Dakota Joshua. I know that the management group that saw him play in the American Hockey League and the limited time he spent in the NHL, they think that there's something there. So we will find out. It's time for everybody. The time for talk's over. It's time to put your best foot forward, and we'll see. But ultimately, the Canucks, they're going to get better. They'll make improvements based on the skill level of this hockey team. But you do want to insulate your star players, and you can't leave it all to Luke Schenn to play the role of sheriff. And Luke Schenn, he knows his role, and he'll do that if he has to. But, I think the addition of a guy like Dakota Joshua, he better understand why he was signed to a contract by the Canucks and what it is they're looking at. I'm not saying drop the gloves every night out, but, be physical, be a presence, get noticed. You know me, do something. Like that's one of those guys. Come preseason, I don't want him sticking to the systems, and being afraid of making mistakes. Like he's got to play a noisy game. He's got to make the boards rattle. You've got to notice a player like that. So, time will tell here, Rick, whether they are a tough enough team. But, I do think that they're a better hockey club, and they were pretty darn good under Bruce Boudreau with those 57 games. So the question is, can they pick up where they left off last spring?
Jeff, 20 seconds, 21 and a half. Quinn Hughes, right side. You okay with that?
I don't love it. I mean, he's the best defenseman. I think if you're moving him to the right, it's just offloading some of your other problems. You know who does love it is Jack Rathbone, though, because it really opened the door for him. I will say this. Quinn, I think, is so smart that of that group of defenders, if you had to move somebody from the left to the right, he would adapt. But again, I'm all about putting guys in the best situation possible. And since I've overrun the limit, I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right, Jeff, enjoy the scenery there at Rogers Arena. You're heading up to Whistler, I would imagine.
I will be on the highway. I was home from Penticton late Monday night, packed the bags, do a little laundry, and out first thing in the morning. So, yeah, heading up to camp and looking forward to it. Hockey season is here again.
Off you go. Jeff, thanks so much for this. Harrison Price,
You bet.
Rink-Wide Podcast.